everyone. I wanted to share a little bit about the things that I think helped me be successful as I was working on my doctorate. I thought it might help some people that are on the fence, and I said it to a lot of the different dog videos and stuff. So, do you want to have the talking head, the whole thing? So, so here we go.
Going back to school after a lot of years off is not the easiest thing in the world.
I have a lot of stuff always going on. I tend to be really, really busy, and it is hard to make time for it. When you've had a lot of years off of school, it's very, very much of an adjustment. But was it worth it? Well, I certainly think so. I actually managed to get my doctorate. One of the things that I think helped me get through it is I started with a natural curiosity. I had opened up a small cybersecurity consulting business locally, and we had so many times where I would be talking to small businesses and they would just ignore everything I was saying. They would say, "Yep, we agree. That'll happen to everybody else, but it'll never happen to me." And they just had such a profound cyber will never affect me idea. And nothing I said, like nothing I could say or do would ever convince them that it would be any different. We had started the business because we had wanted to help others in our local community. So the fact that I mean, we were trying to do education programs and we were getting very, very little responses. We were flat out sometimes even offering to help people for free and they wouldn't even take us up on like free help and let alone trying to get the business to be successful. So it's just been very, very challenging. And that was kind of one of the things that got me really looking at the doctorate because I had this problem in mind like, well, how do you get small businesses to really pay serious attention to their basics like cyber hygiene type stuff? And a doctorate is not like any of your other degrees, at least for me, my experiences, it's not remotely like any of your other degrees. You come in with a problem in mind, and it helps. Like, I mean, you can develop your problem statement over the course of your classes, but you can come in with like a problem in mind, and then it's all about like learning to research, learning to write academically. And so like, so for me, this natural curiosity that I had, that really carried me through because I was just really, really perplexed. I'm like, well, if all the stuff that I'm doing isn't working, what would convince these people that that the statistics are accurate and that they're going to have a major problem and they're very likely to have a cyber problem if they keep doing what they're doing? I know there's a wide variety, so I think a big part of it too is finding a program that's right for you. I looked at a number of different schools before I settled on the school I ended up going to, and there was some local universities and stuff around me that were really awesome, but they expected you to quit your day job and just do nothing but school. And coming back as an adult who has a career and everything, that just wasn't practical for me. So I think a big part of it too is just having the right fit. And the way my school actually did it was they really start shaping your problem statement up front. And all through your classes, you're thinking about what your thesis is and the problem that you're trying to solve. So it really worked for me. It worked really, really well because that curiosity I was constantly, even when I wasn't like having to do something for class, I was a lot of times looking at sources and just trying to figure out the basics of this problem. And I honestly actually was almost like sad when I finished it because it's like, oh, now I can't, like, now I don't have access to all these databases and all this research and stuff that I could just pull up at my fingertips. Another part of being successful at this, I think, is setting the right expectations with yourself and doing good time management. My school wanted me to do two classes at once, and they wanted me, then that's what's considered a full-time student is two classes on top of all the search and rescue work that I do with my dogs, on top of the small businesses that I was trying to run, on top of all the various demands of my career. Two classes was going to be impossible. I wasn't going to be successful. And what I found out was like, hey, you could do one class. And yes, it would take a little bit longer, but by doing one class, it became manageable to me because then it wasn't two classes that I had to try to keep track of. I just had to make sure that I was on top of the one set of assignments. And that was I think that was another big piece of me being successful because I don't think I would have been able to do it with two classes on top of everything else. But with one class, and one of the other things that I did throughout the program was I really tried to focus on getting ahead as much as possible so that when things came up with work or whatever, sometimes I travel, that it wasn't like, oh crap, I can't do this. By being ahead, it really, really helped me a lot. And it kind of lends itself to that because you have like discussion board posts every week, and you have like articles to read and you have papers to write. So it's like you can look ahead at the material, at, like the assignments and stuff. And there's nothing, a lot of times there was nothing that stopped me from working ahead. And I just set like dedicated time. It was like Monday night, it was my night. Things were due on Thursday. So Monday night was my night to get things done. And then if something happened, I still had several days to make sure that all my assignments were done. The getting ahead really, really saved me a lot because when I was doing my study, I actually was trying to offer free risk assessments for small businesses to figure out like what would work for them. Like it was like a questionnaire and a risk assessment together. And I had a lot of people turning me down, and there was like I could not get anybody. So if I hadn't been way, way ahead, I would have probably had to repeat some classes. But because I was so far ahead, I had time to readjust. And then I ended up sending out a survey through like a service that polled people instead of trying to get people to just come and do my risk assessment. And I think another thing that helps a lot is just to that whole concept of iterations and that you're not going to be perfect right out of the gate and you're going to have to keep evolving things and you're going to have to roll with the punches. Like I really had like one thing in mind when I came in, and then it was really fascinating too because as my results came in, all my results from my study ended up being the exact opposite of what I thought they were going to be. So for me, I actually just learned an absolute ton from it because I was like, oh wow, okay, like because my premise of my risk assessment, my whole questionnaire process was going to be that there's this thing called CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model. And I was really thinking coming into this because they have like a policy of auditing everybody. And I thought that that would like force small businesses. And if we just had started doing audits, then it would make everything better. But the results I started getting back, like first I couldn't get anybody to do it. And then the results that came back were like, yeah, no, that's not going to work at all. And so I had to really evolve as I went. And so there's something in like the development world called it's like agile development, and one of the kind of mottos is fail early, fail often, and fail forward. And the whole concept is that you constantly put things in front of people and and then you constantly evolve and you iterate instead of just being waiting and waiting and waiting, like kind of like the waterfall method where you just wait and wait and wait till the end and then you hand them something and then you're really, really broken. So because I was constantly having a lot of feedback, a lot of inputs to like my paper and stuff, my advisor was absolutely fantastic. And so we were able to just kind of roll with the punches, and it's like, okay, well, this is what I'm after. And then when I started getting the results back, it's like, oh, okay, now that results chapter is going to be like completely different. Another thing to kind of think about too, this is I know for the degree that in particular went for, it's an absolute ton of writing. And personally, I actually found I really enjoyed writing and that I was actually a really, really good writer, to the point where maybe, hey, maybe I'll do some books or something in the future. But if you don't like writing, it's going to be very, very difficult. And it's not a normal style of writing. I think my first semester was just absolutely atrocious because I was like, I thought I knew how to write and I felt like I had to learn how to write from scratch again because it was just it's so so different. It's like you can't make a statement without like citing a source and you have to cite multiple sources, and it's just so so different than just your normal everyday like work writing. So it was a really big challenge that I had to cope with. And once I got used to that writing format, it kind of became second nature and it wasn't so bad. And there's tools and stuff too to help you. I ended up using a tool called like Mandalay, and it was absolutely fantastic. It kept track of all my references, and then I could just say, oh, this is the reference I want for this, and this is the reference I want for this. And I just kind of kept track of all my sources, like the sources that were like really good for me, like really like proved my points and stuff. And then then you could just kind of keep reusing them. So that's really like the top things that when I think back that helped me get through my doctorate program. Hopefully that was helpful. And if you're on the fence, you'll think about going for it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing.